Welcome back to Conspiracy Why, our 11th episode. On today's episode, we'll take a look at the strange and untimely death of Heche. I'll read some articles, take a look, and give my opinion at the end. Let's go. In life, good things happen and bad things happen, but a certain group of people refuse to accept the findings of what happened. This is where the conspiracy is born. I'll be your host, Arthur Wells, through this journey of knowns and unknowns, information and misinformation of some of the world's most important solved and unsolved mysteries. Welcome to Conspiracy Why. On August 5th, 2022, Heche was involved in a sequence of 3 motor vehicle collisions in the Mar Vista neighborhood of Los Angeles, the final crash being the most serious, inflicting critical injuries on Heche and destroying a house. The first collision took place when her vehicle struck an apartment garage and caused minor damage. A video released by TMZ shows her vehicle, a mini club van, at the scene of the accident and an unidentified man repeatedly shouting out of the car at the driver. The vehicle then reversed and left the scene of the accident. A photo of the driver, also released by TMZ, is identified as Heche. TMZ also reported a second hit and run in which Heche's vehicle struck a Jaguar without stopping, though without injury to the other driver. Another video shows a mini clubman speeding down an alleyway and nearly hitting a pedestrian. A doorbell video recorded in the moments before the final crash shows Heche's vehicle driving along a neighborhood street at a very high speed, followed a few seconds later by the sound of a crash. In the final crash, her vehicle struck a house, broke through a wall and embedded itself 30 feet into the building, trapping Heche inside. The vehicle caught fire, which in turn set the entire building on fire. The resulting house fire and extraction from the vehicle required 59 firefighters, who took 65 minutes to fully extinguish the fire and rescue Heche from the vehicle. Heche had sustained several burns and smoke inhalation injuries. By the time she was rescued, the house was left structurally compromised and uninhabitable. Tenants living in the house was in the rear of the structure at the time of the collision and only sustained minor injuries, but her attorney said that she and her pets almost lost their lives and that she had lost all of her personal property in the fire. Law enforcement officials said that Heche was deemed to be under the influence and acting erratically at the time of the crashes. The Los Angeles Police Department said that a preliminary blood analysis confirmed the presence of both cocaine and narcotics, including fentanyl, in Heche's system. Although a second and more comprehensive drug test is required to determine whether the narcotics detected were given by the hospital or ingested earlier, the second test could take anywhere from 30 to 90 days to complete. Heche was removed from the crash scene on a stretcher and was transported to a hospital. She was filmed sitting up on the stretcher and struggling with paramedics as she was being wheeled into the ambulance. However, she lost consciousness soon after. On August 8, a representative of Heche said she was in a coma in critical condition, requiring medical ventilation for pulmonary injury sustained in the accident. On August 11th, the representative said that Heche was not expected to survive due to an anoxic brain injury she had sustained, but that she was being kept on life support to determine if her organs were viable for donation, in accordance with her express wishes to be an organ donor. Heche was declared brain dead a few hours later, but remained on life support to assess organ donor viability and locate recipients. Having been declared brain dead, Heche was considered legally dead at the time under California law. On August 14th, it was announced that the organ recipients had been found and that her body would undergo the organ donation procedure that day. Later that evening, her publicist announced that she had been peacefully taken off of life support. The Office of Los Angeles County Medical Examiner and Coroner recorded the cause of death as inhalation and thermal injuries with sternal fracture due to blunt trauma, listed as another significant condition, and ruled her death an accident. In honor of her organ donation, hospital staff held an honor walk for Heche, and Heche cremated remains were placed in a mausoleum at Hollywood Forever Cemetery on August 23rd. Alright, let's get right to it. The death of Anne Heche. They've dug another deep rabbit hole for us peoples. So let's take a look at some stuff. Get to the bottom of what's going on right now with Anne Heche. It's on the internet, it's everywhere. They're coming out the woodworks. Time to go to work. Alright, let's get to it. What's the conspiracy here? I don't know, but let's go. I have a few notes. I have a few things I want to say. She looked good when they pulled her out of the car accident, right? Her skin was intact. Her hair looked intact. It just seems weird, the whole thing she did on the stretcher. That's a whole nother thing for another day. Actually, it's not for another day, it's for right now. Did she have any information about certain people involved in human trafficking? Was she having a mental breakdown from the secrets and the pressure of Hollywood? We know Anne went through a lot as a youngin', as a kid, and as an adult. She battled a lot of demons. Was she sacrificed? I don't know. Just asking questions, see can we come up with some type of answer here. We all know that she had mental issues. She was found wandering around in her bra in the desert a few years ago, and it was known that she was abusing a lot of substance, alcohol, cocaine, a bunch of other things that she was into, little gripes that she had to fight, as we all have our demons that we fight, right? But this is where it gets interesting. Before her passing, she was working on a documentary about human trafficking called Girl in Room 13, I think it's called. Yeah, Girl in Room 13, which is airing on Lifetime coming up. Or maybe not. Maybe they're going to cancel it and it never get to come to the light of day. Then that opens up a whole new can of worms, right? You know, right before the accident, they spoke to an African American guy in California. And they said she went there to buy a wig, a red wig. The gentleman who sold her the wig said that she spoke clearly. She wasn't slurring her words. She looked sober. And this happened 1 hour before the incident and the few crashes that she had. Now, maybe she, in between the crash and leaving the wig shop, she took something. Maybe that's why she had the wig on, trying to go in disguise, go buy a few of them things, do what you got to do with the nose candy, and then maybe it was mixed with something and she freaked out. But it seemed like she would at least stop, but you never know when someone's freaking out what they're gonna do. Now, this is where it gets real weird. She was in the car for over an hour burning, supposedly, and inhaling a lot of smoke. I'm not sure if that's possible, if that's humanly possible to be in a car that's on fire and get out, moving and living. Her skin looked intact, her hair looked a little smut on it, but not the signs of someone that's been in a fire for an hour burning. That's just amazing. And as they put her into the ambulance, this is where it gets just tricky as hell. As they put her into the ambulance, she appeared to, it reminds me a little bit of the Michael Jackson thing when he was in the helicopter. Those who follow this, y'all know what I'm talking about. She removed she got out of the bag, out of the sheets, and moved, and it was like, looked like she was fighting. It's only like maybe 3/10 of a second to 4/10 of a second that you see this. She's moving and she's fighting, and she's trying to like just move people over and get off of the stretcher. Seems pretty weird that can happen to someone that was just in a car burning. She moved the sheets. She was trying to get off of the stretcher, which means she was probably freaking out, like what happened, what possibly could be going on. Maybe she knew it was time for that to happen to her, and she was scared. Then the news released a statement saying that she was in stable condition, and I'm like, what? Okay, she's cool. This happened with a few people. They be in stable condition, and all of a sudden they're dead. A few hours later, they came back and said she was brain dead and on life support, and that they were keeping her organs alive. Well, keeping her brain alive so her organs can be donated. This is strange to me. Then they pulled the plug 2 days later. So how can you go from, this happened with a few celebs. They go to the hospital and they're in stable condition, and then all of a sudden, boop, their health drops. I understand it can happen. It's normal. It can happen in society, but this is just a little too weird for me. What happened to Anne? I think they got her. I think all the stuff that she has done in Hollywood, and the things that she know, and the things that she was working on, came back to roost. I'm gonna finish this by stating one thing. I'm gonna finish this on this note. I'm gonna name a few people who passed away while making documentaries, movies, or speaking out about human trafficking. You have Paul Walker, you have Chris Cornell, and you have Anthony Bourdain. Enough said. So put it in the comments. Let me know what you think happened to Anne Heche. Are we barking up the wrong tree, or is this the right tree that we need to lift our leg and pee on? Until next time. Thanks for watching. I've been your host, Arthur Wells. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And hit up that comment section and let me know what you think happened to Anne Heche. And remember, this is for entertainment purposes only. Don't get your opinion off of what I say. Do your own homework. Come up with your own conclusion. Maybe we can do it together. Once again, thanks for watching Conspiracy Why.